Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. We are at part 7 of the Hans Reiser case. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is very strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's dive back into the case. 31-year-old Ellen Doran was Nina Reiser's best girlfriend here in the U.S. Like Nina, Ellen was also from Russia, had married and had kids in Oakland. Nina and Ellen met 3 years prior while they were both taking their kids to Russian language classes. On Sunday, September 3rd of 2006, they had planned on having dinner together that night at Ellen's place at 6 p.m. But 6 p.m. came and went with no sign of Nina. Nina was known to be almost always on time, and had she been running late, she would have called to let her know. Between 6:30 and 9 p.m., Miss Ellen called Nina various times, and the calls would go to voicemail. Anthony Sografos was also trying to get a hold of Nina, with no avail. Anthony was Nina's new boyfriend. After not hearing from her all day and after looking for her at various places, he showed up at her house at 11 p.m. and let himself in with the key she had given him. Nina met Anthony Sografos on Craigslist through a play date ad. Nina resembled Anthony's ex-wife, and he was drawn to her. After he pursued her for a while, they became boyfriend and girlfriend, as well as the, 2006 version of the Brady Bunch. Anthony is described as a Greek-born Silicon Valley high-tech entrepreneur. In 2004, Anthony's wife of 10 years filed for divorce. They had their share of custody battles. In Bay Area true crime legend Henry Lee's book titled Presumed Dead, he writes, and I quote, "Like Hans Zografos had also attended UC Berkeley, but the similarities ended there," end quote. The book was a fantastic read. I mean, normally when I start researching cases, I like to get most of my information through public court records, articles, podcasts, YouTube videos, documentary shows. Books are also included. However, Presumed Dead by Henry K. Lee was the first true crime book that I could not put down. It was so good that I made it a point to hold off on any other research on the case, because the way Mr. Lee writes it is just that good. Highly recommend. Anthony admitted that what first came to mind when he met Nina was, and I quote, "A single mother of 2 kids does not look like that," end quote. Anthony also did not like Sean Sturgeon. Sean Sturgeon was Nina's other boyfriend, who was also Hans's former only friend. Anthony exhibited signs of jealousy, often going through Nina's emails, following her around, and would show up at her place unexpectedly. When Anthony got to Nina's home and let himself in after not hearing from her all day, the home looked like it was frozen in time. Rory's Game Boy was in the living room. Remainders of breakfast bowls with spoons and leftover milk were in the kitchen. Anthony's first thought was that Nina, who was compulsively tidy, would have cleaned up the mess by now. There was also a pile of folded laundry sitting neatly in the bedroom, ready to be put away. Anthony's worry grew even more so when he had to let Nina's cat Basil inside the house, as the window she would leave open for the fur baby was closed. On Tuesday, September 5th of 2006, Hans dropped Rory and Nayo at Joaquin Miller Elementary and told Rory that he would pick them up that afternoon. With school back in session, Miss Ellen wondered if her bestie had taken her kids to school. Rory was a first grader and Nayo was a kindergartner at Joaquin Miller Elementary School. Miss Ellen went to the school at 2:20 p.m. where, of course, the staff advised her that they could not release the children without the parents' permission. They called Nina and left her a message. At 5 p.m., Hans showed up to their after-school program, but he was not there to pick up his kids. Instead, he told the staff that he wanted to set up a meeting to speak about the enrollment policies after making sure he was on the emergency contact list. The staff asked permission for the kids to be released to Ellen, to which he agreed. Not once did he ask about Nina. At 5:15 p.m., Ellen got to the school and picked up Rory and Nayo. She took them to her home, gave them dinner, played with them, and did the whole bedtime routine. Mind you, Miss Ellen is also taking care of her own kids, but that's just the kind of person she was, and that's what drew Nina and Ellen together. They say that it takes a village to raise a family, and I never understood that saying until I became a mom, and the way being surrounded with a community that cares for your child is such an amazing thing to have. It's priceless. Nina and Ellen were moms together. Their kids had tons of play dates. They were at each other's kids' parties. Ellen knew that Nina would have been doing the same for her had their roles been reversed. Knowing everything we know now about this case, God forbid anything as horrible as what happened to Nina ever happens to anyone, yet it happens far too often. Around the same time, Anthony was coming out of his office in San Jose, and he called the Oakland police and asked if Nina had been in any accidents or incidents after he was told that there was no record of her or her minivan. He called local hospitals and asked if there was a patient under her name. He even called the Berkeley Bowl and asked if her car was left in the parking lot. Anthony even swallowed his pride and called Sean Sturgeon, and he had not heard from Nina either. By sundown, Anthony was at Ellen's house, and together they decided to call the police and filed a missing persons report. Obviously, the first people police look into when suspected foul play is involved or in missing persons cases is and are, in many cases, the romantic partners. With Sean and Anthony's rock-solid alibis, suspicion on the estranged soon-to-be ex-husband with a violent history rang all the alarms. Both Sean and Anthony had rock-solid alibis for September 3rd, 2006 after 2:04 p.m. Anthony was camping with his wife and kids that weekend 2 hours away at the Big Basin Redwood State Park in Santa Cruz, California. That afternoon, Sean was strolling through downtown Oakland's Art and Soul Festival. At 4:15 p.m., he checked into the exclusive Club One gym.